where we'll be taking you through the day's 12-game MLB main slate. A lot of things to discuss here in our dying days of the MLB regular season. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my pal, my friend who I only get to see on Wednesdays, and not much longer. It's going to be isolation from my boy Jake, but the very snack-like baseball savant himself, Jake Hari. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm sad. I'm sad that I'm not sad for baseball being done, but we're probably not going to talk for a while after this show.
Yeah, we're
So
not like big chat guys, so this is our time to hang out and be buddies and
yeah,
coworkers.
yeah,
And you're gonna go into your NHL lair, your dungeon where you do all your NHL work, and I'll be bouncing back between NFL and NBA. So we gotta cherish these moments, Jake.
I know. Yeah. So other than that, though, doing well. NHL preseason's back. We got an MLB slate. I don't know that it's a super fun slate tonight, but we do have a couple big names: deGrom, Bieber. So I like the way my lineups look over on Fantasy Draft tonight.
Yeah, fantasy draft, a thing that does bring me joy, whether it's for MLB season or NFL season, because it is the only rake-free daily fantasy site out there. And they're bringing the heat again this week, Jake. I bet you didn't think they'd bring the heat, but you know what? They're bringing the heat. $750,000 guaranteed rake-free contest, the Hooter main event. This is the largest and only rake-free contest of its kind you will find for week 4. And remember, it's only on Fantasy Draft, where 100% of the entry fees are paid out to the winners. So go to fantasydraft.com right now and use the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, for your free 7-day trial and your first $1,000 on rake-free entries. And Jake, you are all about the fantasy draft life. How are you saving on your rake so far?
I'm saving a lot. I haven't really won anything big, but I'm definitely not losing as much, which is the name of the game when you're playing tournaments. You need that one big hit every once in a while, and you need to hope to break even or come close to it. So I'm feeling good about my play on Fantasy Draft, saving a bunch of money. And if you guys want to check out how you can save money, you just go to your account, click on your balance up here, go to your profile, go to your account, and there you go, right there, your savings. It's pretty cool stuff. I am just really enjoying playing on Fantasy Draft, and I'm playing again there tonight.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, as you can see from Jake's show there. They are showing you every single day how you're going to be saving money just playing DFS on there. So go to fantasydraft.com right now. Give them a shot. A lot of people did well in the NFL this weekend. I saw a lot of people tweeting us screenshots as well on our Awesemo_com Twitter handle. So go support it. Fantasydraft.com. Use the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, for your free 7-day trial. All right, Jake, let's talk about the pitching here. This is one day again on which we are going to have actually, well, I guess not again. This is really just the lowest implied total of the year, I think, as much as I can recall. Even some of those Houston games against Detroit, not quite this low. Jacob deGrom going against Miami. We saw his guy yesterday. I guess I don't like people lumping in Syndergaard with deGrom because deGrom is actually very good. Syndergaard, I think, is like fake good where he gets blown up a bit. But deGrom is legit good, a 32% K rate, a 1 whip on the year, giving up just a .09 ISO going back to last year. So he has not given up power going against the Miami team, who also has no power in the lineup. Their top isolated power hitter is going to be Austin Dean with a 168 ISO versus righties. I'm very big on deGrom tonight, Jake. I'm loading up on him. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good about deGrom as well. He's going to be my highest owned pitcher tonight, as I'm sure he's going to be pretty much everyone's highest owned pitcher. So I'm trying to scroll through and find this game. There we go. You see the really low implied total here on Alex's projections, his totals he comes up with. You rarely see a team under 3, and they were at 2.7 for a bit there. They're at 2.9 right now, the Marlins are. So maybe deGrom hasn't had the most success against the Marlins this season, but I would expect him to just go in and mow him down here. 12K on DraftKings. It's not too difficult to get to tonight. It's not like you're missing out on a ton of quality mid-tier options. At least I don't see any. There's not many that are coming up in my lineups. So, there's really no reason for me to avoid deGrom. I think he's the best play on the slate. You could argue Bieber, but it looks like we've got him separated quite a bit in the projections. So I'm just playing whatever deGrom I can. What about you?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm above the field on him, even on the 45% projected ownership we have from at on DraftKings. And of course, you can go check out the ownership yourself. If you go to osmo.com/join, use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month. Get an all access pass to get NFL too, because obviously MLB, we will have MLB playoff content, but if you don't want to get just that, get the all access pass. You got a couple sports going, and you could also get the NHL and NBA coming up not too far away. But yeah, I think it's a lot of ownership on deGrom, but I really don't see the value in going away from him. It's not a fantastic pitching slate, even though you do have Bieber there. Bieber does struggle a bit more with power, and there is more quality hitting in that White Sox lineup, even though that sounds like an oxymoron. Miami's really got nobody left. John Birdie put together a wild day yesterday with like 5 steals to get to the over 30 fantasy points. But yeah, it was, I thought he had, so I had to do the double dong contest. The way that I find those, whoever like actually hit one is I go to Fantasy Cruncher and sort by who had the top plays. Birdie had over 30 points with, I believe, 5 steals and like all singles. It's actually worth pulling up because it was a very funny stat line.
So I ended up not playing last night, but that sounds ridiculous. I guess I could look at that in the game logs just to confirm. Has there been even like a 4 steal game this season?
So my bad. He had 4 steals, three singles, 1 RBI, and 1 walk for 33 fantasy points.
So 33 fantasy points with 3 singles. That's crazy. Well, there you go.
And he stole on the walk. He was just stealing every time out. So shouts to John Birdie for the very unique stat line. It is, I don't think that's going to happen again. And just really no power. I think that's what you're looking for if you're worried about a pitcher getting blown up. And it's hard to see anybody getting to him or even taking it to the warning track.
Yeah. I just don't see a reason to get away from deGrom. I think you just need the raw points at pitching here, and you differentiate at bats, as Alex and Adam were pointing out on the deeper dive. And I 100% agree with that tonight. I think that's the best way to go.
Yep, I'm with you there. So let's talk about the number 2 guy, though, because Shane Bieber is going to have comparable ownership on all the sites today. He's going to be pretty much the number 2 pitcher across the board. A little bit cheaper, but a tougher matchup overall. Not as good of an implied total. Still just 3.4 against him, but that is significantly higher than what we're seeing for deGrom, depending upon the sites you're looking at. I like Bieber. We know he's got slate breaking upside, but he is an arm that they really need for the playoffs. It looks like they're going to be in the playoffs, even though they are still competing for seeding, I believe. How are you feeling about Bieber here in the spot against the White Sox team, who's hitting decently down the stretch and does have some guys who are at least competent?
Yeah, so I like Bieber. I mean, it would be impossible not to like him here. I think it's a fair price. I just think that that deGrom's just a little bit better. And if they're going to be owned comparably, like you said, that's the most important thing. Because when 2 guys are similar price points and they're both going to be popular, I usually just go with the one that projects better. And right now, the ownership has spread out a little bit between the two. We've got deGrom 45% and then Bieber at 26. But if it gets even closer, then it's just going to get more deGrom for me. Like I said, great spot for Bieber. The stats for these guys are similar across the board. Guys that strike out 30+% of hitters, don't walk a lot of guys, can be ultra efficient, complete game shutout, slate breaking, upside, all of that. But I just think deGrom is just in a little bit better of a spot. So I'm siding with him. If you wanted to side with Bieber, absolutely no issue with that.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I think, there's just not a big enough, as Jake mentioned, just not of a discrepancy between the price points between those 2 guys. And, Bieber is great. He certainly does have tournament upside. I think if you wanted to go to a split to them instead of going with quite as much deGrom, I think that certainly would be a logical approach to go to. But, it is just, it seems like a safer spot for deGrom and one where what the end game is there. Whereas for Bieber, and maybe he gives up a home run or 2 and still has his strikeouts, but that's enough to kind of make him a less appealing play with the projections and where the raw points stand. Let's keep going here, Jake, because we do have a really spread out pitching slate besides that. So I'm going to use the DK ownership to kind of guide us from here. Andrew Heaney, it looks like, is now going to be the number 3 owned guy. His price fairly reasonable for a guy who's had a lot of strikeouts on the year, but he's going against an Oakland team who's got big power. Angels Park playing pretty well for power hitters on the year. How are you feeling about Heaney today?
I don't get it with Heaney today. I mean, if you just look at, so I'll go back to the Osmo lineups page. If you just look at the implied total against him and his price on DraftKings at least, and Fantasy Draft, just a little bit too expensive. 5.7 implied total here for Oakland. kind of tells me everything I need to know. So yes, there could be strikeouts here, but Oakland's been one of the better teams versus lefties. Maybe they don't roll out their normal lineup. That would obviously change some things, but that would change some things for any matchup. So until I see that, I don't really have a ton of interest in Heaney as the third most owned guy.
Yeah, Oakland, a lot of power, just a 19.3% K rate as a team versus left-hand pitching on the year. I like Heaney. I mean, I think Heaney's, I wouldn't say I like him. I think he's a competent player. He still has some flaws. He's got a 10% barrel ball rate, still has a 5% home run rate on the year, giving up a 182 ISO going back to last year. That includes the 200 ISO to right-handed batters. And it was just Oakland having enough power there. It's a scary spot, I think, to trust him. At that price point, like if he's in this 8Ks, against this Oakland team who's got power, I think that's a little more palatable. But yeah, I really find it hard to really trust Heaney. I'm significantly under the field on him.
Yeah. So you're seeing right now, I crunched out 50 lineups, implementing the top stack tool, and then cut it down to 30 based on ownership and projection. He projects okay compared to everyone else on the slate in his range because there's just not that many options. But ownership wise, I don't really see a reason to be getting to a lot of Heaney here if he's going to be pretty popular, which it looks like he's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up for me as well. How about the Charlie Morton, who's going to be really feels like a forgotten man with his price on DraftKings in particular, but he's a little bit cheaper on some of the other sites, so I could see him having value elsewhere that isn't DraftKings. Decent value, not as much raw points in his projection as there is for Bieber or for deGrom. He's going to be decently owned, and the matchup seems like a not great one going against the Yankees, but there are some strikeouts to be had there. How are you feeling about old Chaz Morton?
I mean, he would just be a GPP target, I think, on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. He's kind of priced out of play for me. On FanDuel, it makes a little bit more sense at 9K. When you compare him, you're saving almost 3K off of deGrom. You're saving 2.5K off of Bieber. So I like him over there because there is strikeout upside with this Yankees lineup. He's in a fantastic park. One of the lowest totals you'll see for the Yankees, I think we've seen for them all season. So I think it is a okay spot for Morton. Definitely not a cash option on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft, but a guy, if I was playing on FanDuel today, I think I would get a good amount of in my non-deGrom lineups.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a 30% K rate on the year, just a 2% on run rate, not giving up a lot of power. I think all the stuff looks good for him going against the Yankee team, who obviously does have power going against a right-handed pitcher. But, Morton's been really good this year, so I could see getting there. I just didn't personally. It's not hard to find the money to get to deGrom. It's not hard to find the money to get to Bieber. I think that was sort of where I shook out. So I didn't feel the need to get to Morton on DraftKings. But as a tournament play, like the 15% for him seems pretty fair.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with that ownership because, like I said, once again, if you're looking and talking FanDuel specifically here, if you're looking at the pricing on FanDuel, I mean, where do you go outside of those top two guys? You could just go with those top two guys and be done with it and play 100% of your lineups with deGrom and Bieber. Not a bad way to start off your lineup, but if you want a little bit of a different lineup construction, it's really Greinke or Morton, and I think I prefer Morton straight up over Greinke.
Yeah, I would take Morton over Greinke too. Jeremiah Johnson in the YouTube chat saying that Morton's gotten beat up by the Yankees this year. What do you think about a Yankees low-owned stack? That is certainly a thought. I would think. Obviously ignoring the BVP part, which is not something that we would generally advocate looking at because that does tend to level out over the course of time. But according to the top stacks tool, the Yankees have a 1.4% chance of being a top stack, which isn't good, but still that is a lot more than their ownership. They only have a 0.1% aggregate ownership expected for them. So if you want to ride that out and you think Charlie Morton's going to maybe get blown up heading into the playoffs, I think that's certainly a thought. But I think I would err on the side of not thinking the Yankees are great. But Jake, do you think you would go with any Yankees here?
No, Morton's a top 5 pitcher easily on this slate. Why would you need to stack against Morton in a bad park? Like on a, what are we at, 12-game slate tonight? Is it 12, 13? Yep.
12.
There's no reason for me to get to Yankees here. If you wanted to play just a cheap good hitter and Stanton or someone like that, that's fine. Judge is cheap too, but as a full stack, I guess they're cheap, but you still need them to go off or close to go off against a really, really awesome pitcher in Morton.
And one of the better bullpens, too, in the league and on the slate in particular. They have a 25% K rate for the bullpen, 4.2 xFIP. Both are very good numbers for a bullpen. So, and if Morton is getting kind of dinged up at all, they certainly wouldn't take too long to pull the trigger on him and to put in somebody else from that bullpen that is so good. So I'm not dying to get to the Yankees here. I don't think it's a spot. But, yeah, I get the thought from a tournament perspective. But yeah, not one I think that seems worthwhile. So this is a weird one, which I guess makes sense. I didn't think it was going to break this way, but ownership does say that Jacob Waguespack is going to be one of the higher owned pitchers on the slate. Of course, people looking for value to afford all those bats. He's going against the Baltimore team, who on the year has a 22.8% K rate versus right-hand pitching, which is just under league average. So it's an okay spot on paper, I guess. Waguespack, an 18% K rate, I guess a little bit closer to 19. Not giving up, giving up a good amount of power, giving up a 203 ISO, 1.4 WHIP, 5.2 xFIP. Not a good pitcher, but I don't know. I don't see the need to go to him. But Jake, how are you feeling about Waguespack?
He's an option in this range, not one that I like as chalk though. As it usually happens with these cheaper pitchers in the low tier, if they project similarly to each other, which it looks like a bunch of them do tonight, at least on a value range. And their ownership is not similar, then I just play some of the lower owned guys. So I got to one Waguespack lineup out of 30 on Fantasydraft. It might change. I might get like 2 or maybe 3, but he's just not a guy I think I want to play as one of the chalkier options in this low tier. I'd rather play Montgomery over Waguespack. Who are my other guys down here? I think
Stripling. I'm playing Stripling.
Stripling.
Yeah.
He's just not going to go deep enough. Like that's the only problem. And he's 6,600, so that I don't know. I think you're really limiting your upside if you go with Stripling. He's only gone 37 and 31 pitches his last 2 outings that I'm seeing. I just don't think they want him to go super deep. I think Chris Randone's got the insider info on Stripling. He said that he's kind of in this awkward stage where they're only allowing him to go 3 or 4.
But I think so. Yeah, I did hear him say that, and he was spot on about him not pitching yesterday either. But I don't know, like if he goes 4 against the San Diego team, has had some strikeouts, and he's also been a pretty good strikeout pitcher on the year. Like I think if people are going to be going to Melville or Waguespack, and those guys do get dinged up, I think that Stripling can be fine at 15 points, let's say. If he somehow pulls out a win, I think that might be unlikely given his amount of pitching he'll be doing. But I think he's worth a dice roll if people are going to be going to Waguespack. But that's me. Like Waguespack's not terrible, but I would rather have Stripling at the same price point. At least I think.
What's the ownership difference between those two?
I don't think we have ownership for Stripling. We have him as having nothing, but that might change. Point 3 is what we have right now.
Okay. I don't know if it's going to come up that high, to be honest. So just as a pure pivot, I don't think it's terrible. I mean, it's September baseball. Who knows when guys are going to get pulled? So just going with the lower owned guy in this range, I don't think is a terrible option. I just prefer Montgomery for just going way, way down there if you're going super cheap.
So let's talk Montgomery because I got him too, and we're using the same projections from Awesemo.com, which of course you can get with that promo code Live Before Lock for half off your first month. I'm getting to Montgomery too. I feel like I often get to Montgomery whenever he's on a slate, which is terrible. He's given up 5.3 implied runs against them, but getting an Atlanta lineup that is appreciably worse than you would expect. No Freddie Freeman out there, no Ronald Acuna. Those guys, Acuna got a little hurt, so maybe they're just resting him for the playoffs. But Freeman as well sitting out. I got Montgomery. I don't feel good about it. He's even worse than Waguespack. So in that respect, not great, but $2K cheaper. So Jake, why Montgomery?
He's just way, way too cheap for a guy that's fully stretched out. You're getting no Acuna in the Atlanta lineup. He's shut down for the rest of the regular season, so the last few days of the season. That's massive. It's like from a power standpoint from this Atlanta lineup. I don't know. He's not even that bad of a strikeout pitcher. Like he's got some strikeouts in him. He's not like Agrizal at 11% or 12%. He's at 17. You've seen him have some ceiling performances where he completely wrecks the slate. And not saying he's going to do that here, but you were talking about 15 from Stripling. I think that's a pretty realistic outcome. And you look at the implied total against for The implied total for the Braves, so against a $4,400 pitcher, let's see what Alex has them at. 5.8, and then people want to play Heaney, who's 9,400, 5K more, and the A's in Alex's team totals have a 5.7 implied. So, just that alone, I mean, I'll just take the cheaper guy that's not getting played as much.
Yeah, and it is a park too that has limited power pretty well in the air in terms of the park factor, so that should help out, or at least help keep the ball in. The Braves, though, even though there isn't Acuna and Freeman in there, not a bad lineup. Austin Riley back in there, Tyler Flowers, those guys can hit lefties pretty well. Albies isn't better versus lefties. It's a scary spot for sure for Montgomery, but they're all these guys are kind of just bunched together ownership wise. You just kind of pick your poison or just ride with the field.
Yeah, there's one more guy that I think we probably need to talk about. At least one more. You're probably getting him too. Melville? Are you getting any of him?
I got some of him. I went the other way, though. So, mentally, I didn't check the ownership as I was kind of pulling some of my lineups, and he was going to be projected to be the cheap guy of the day earlier. So I was like, let me get some San Francisco lineups going against him in there. The ownership's come down, and he's certainly getting the biggest park upgrade going from Colorado, where he's given up a 302 ISO on the year, which is not good, but certainly going to happen in Coors. Now he's going to San Francisco, where it's under 80 degrees, so it's still not too hot there in their little Indian summer thing. I don't mind the idea of Melville, but I do mind the idea of Melville if he was going to be like 20% owned.
Where's he at right now?
He's down to 12. He was at like 18 in the morning when I did the Four Corners.
Got it. Yeah, that's I don't love it that he's getting ownership and I'm playing this guy, but you're 5,600. You're in a phenomenal park for pitching, arguably the best. I mean, hopefully the Giants don't roll out exactly this projected lineup that I'm seeing because it looks actually decent with Crawford in the 7th spot. You've got Vogt and Belt, Yastrzemski leading off. I mean, it's not terrible, and it's not good for a strikeout from a strikeout perspective, but you're 5,600 and pitching in this park. I have to give him a look, and I'm giving him even more of a look. Right now, he's my second highest owned pitcher behind deGrom, which is terrifying. If you guys saw on my crunch, this is my my dummy crunch. I had 57% Melville, which is exactly the exact same as what I had deGrom at.
All right. So look, I get it. From a projection basis, he's right there with the other guys and cheaper. And, as you mentioned, the park, I guess we both mentioned, the park is really going to be a positive fact for him. You really can't underrate, as we've seen with some of these games recently, where we've seen Chichi Gonzalez go on the road and have a decent day. We've seen Sensatella have a less good day, but still not get quite as blown up. When you're just out of Coors, it's going to help out quite a bit relative to what you're dealing with on a regular basis. So I get it, but I think this Giants lineup does look pretty good, and I think that's sort of why mini stacks and a couple of full stacks is where I got.
Jake dancing with the devil tonight. Yeah, I also agree. If you are playing a bunch of lineups tonight, the Giants should absolutely be in your pool of stacks. I know. I think it was the Giants last night. Randone had a pretty sick call, playing a bunch of those hitters. So, if you went to them last night, I don't think tonight is the night to get off, especially if Melville is going to get a little bit of popularity here.
You have very high team total for San Francisco going against Melville. I guess depends on your site, but I've met 5.2 implied runs, which a lot for any game in San Francisco for any side. And this Giants team, does have a few hitters in there. A couple guys with big power, a couple guys who can create runs. So, I think probably more of a mini stack than a full stack, but I have both because why not? Why not when going to go against good old Tim Melville, who might have some ownership?
Yeah, anytime you can stack against Tim Melville, I don't think you should avoid it.
Getting some questions in the chat from Bo Jones asking about Frankie Montas. In particular on Yahoo, I think he's fine. He's certainly going to benefit. I thought Alex made a funny joke where he's like, we should account for PEDs in his projection, which, he still got him in his body, as we've seen before. That'll help him out a bit. And on the year, he's at a 26% K rate, not giving up much power, a 4% barrel ball rate, under 2% home run rate, just a 145 ISO. So Frankie Montas has been solid. He's going against an Angels team who just looks god-awful. I mean, like Miami bad almost in a lot of ways. How are you feeling about Montas here? On Yahoo, where the price is a lot more appealing, I think it's fine. May not be fully stretched out enough to justify his price on DK, though.
Yeah, out of play on DK, and I don't even think I got to one share of him on Fantasy Draft. I don't think it's necessary to pay way up for him tonight. Just kind of in a tier by himself. On Yahoo, though, $35 is a pretty good price against a Troutless, Ohtani-less Angels lineup here. Montas was having a really, really awesome season. He was striking out 26.2% of guys before he got busted for PEDs or whatever. I don't know. Did he have an excuse even, or did he just eat it? There's usually a statement that comes out.
One of our guys, Thomas Tyner, in the YouTube chat saying he was busted for Austria, and at the same time a bunch of MMA fighters were busted, was proven to be contamination. But from what I know of MMA guys, they do that's all kind of shady business. And Austrian can also be used to mask when you have like artificial testosterone or extra testosterone put into your body.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're just talking about DFS here, but $35 I think is a fair price for a -230 favorite. People would play Heaney on the other side, so why wouldn't you play the cheaper guy that's a way bigger favorite in the exact same park against just a bad lineup?
Yeah, I agree. Somebody pointing out Jeremiah saying on the deeper dive, they said that he's fully stretched out, 100 pitches in a simulated games he threw. Yeah, that certainly helps a bit. I don't know. He strikes me as hard to bank on, like, until you see it, I think would be how I would feel about it on DK. But on Yahoo, as Jake mentioned, that price is really substantially more appealing. I'd rather find the money, though, to go other places, or, even go down to Heaney. But I get why you'd want to take a shot with Montas.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it on other sites if I could avoid it. Draftkings and Fantasydraft, but Yahoo, it does make some sense over there.
Let's see here. We are at the halfway point of the show, which means I have to be summarily disappointed by something. But Jake, anybody else you're getting before we move on to the back half and the dong picks and the pitchers? I got some Samardzija as well. Not as much as I thought I would have, but I think he's in a fine enough spot. Going against the Colorado team has just been terrible. And he's also in San Francisco, so I'm fine with him. But anybody else popping for you?
He was the guy I was going to mention. He's Jeff Samardzija. He's not a flashy play by any means, but you're pitching at home. And when you're pitching in San Francisco against this Rockies team who's just been bad versus righties, they lack a lot of power outside of Blackmon and Story. No Story in the lineup, no Murphy in the lineup. It looks like a pretty favorable spot here for Samardzija. So I'm actually looking to up my exposure to him. I think I got him a few shares of him out of my 30, but it just looks like somewhat of a safe spot if there ever was one against Colorado getting the biggest negative park shift that they could ask for.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. I didn't realize Story wasn't even in the lineup. Yeah, that's not great. And having Blackmon back in there is certainly going to be helpful because I think he wasn't in the projected lineup that I saw today. But yeah, that's still not a good hitting team, and a team certainly being away from Coors has deeply affected them all year, getting just 3.8 implied runs against Samardzija, and Samardzija's just fine enough, I think, on a slate like this where we've talked at length about guys like Mike Montgomery and Jacob Wagasback, I think, and Tim Melville. I think you can go to Jeff Samardzija. I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, let's do the dong pick thing. Yesterday we had two, Chris Randone and Emac both got dongs. That put Randone ahead in terms of pick rate for me. But honestly, Jake, I'm so fucking cold in this game. The coldest I've been, I think, all year. I've made less picks because I haven't been playing every slate on the shows where on the NFL days. But I've missed, 5, 9. I've missed 11 in a row, which I think is the longest streak I've had. Maybe one longer one in June. So I'm feeling terrible about myself. I'll let you go first, Jake.
Yeah, well, talk about feeling terrible about yourself. I was going to pick Bregman yesterday, but the Houston lineup wasn't out, and I was like, I probably won't catch it, and they won't tell me. So I picked Matt Chapman and Bregman donged. So that was fun to see. Chapman, of course, did not dong. Would have had a chance to keep pace with Emac. So that was very frustrating. Let's see. I'm scrolling through some of the guys that are coming up heavy for me. Man, do I go against my boy Montgomery? I think that's a pretty good option. I think I'm going to go back to Houston, but I hope we get their lineup. Otherwise, I'll change my pick. I'll take George Springer.
Okay, yeah, really good spot versus Kikuchi, giving up a 244 ISO. That makes sense. And Yeah, I don't want to tail your pick today because I inadvertently did it yesterday. I feel like I've inadvertently done it a few days where I haven't been paying full attention while I've been doing some other work and writing in the background. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to Cleveland. Even if these guys get subbed out again after going nuts, that's fine because I'm okay with it. And I think I'm going to try to ride the hot hand here, even though I probably have more Franmil Reyes and more of these guys. I'm gonna go to Jose Ramirez. I liked his game yesterday. That's the most recency bias pick for me.
All right. I'll put you in for Jose Ramirez. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. So we'll wait on picks from Josh, the leader in percentage of dong picks, barely over Emac. Emac could possibly win the Triple Crown here. Or actually, he could win. Yeah, man, he could win everything here besides the double dong crown. I think I might have that one locked up. We'll see. Most picks, highest percentage of total dongs, not highest percentage of just picked dongs though. And then, yeah, man, Emac, if he gets like a double dong tonight, he might run away with everything.
Yeah, well, we'll see how your old pal shakes out. Chris Randone's pick is in. He's going with Vlad Guerrero Jr., another solid pick. Oh, here we go. Emac is trailing your pick. Jordan Alvarez going lefty for his Houston exposure.
That's a good pick. That's a very good pick by Emac. Pretty jealous of that pick, to be honest. I love Jordan Alvarez. He's like always a 0.5% owned against lefties for whatever reason. He's always expensive, I get that, but like he's just not even chalky in a stack when Houston's chalky. So I like the pick, Emac. That is a great one.
And we'll see if Josh Engelman, if the coward that he is, he might just be enjoying some time off from not doing something and not producing shows. But if he's here, we'll see if he has a pick, because it seems like a cowardly move to not chime in. I keep clocking in with my picks, even though my pick rate's fallen off a cliff, and I could have stayed ahead of Randone by just staying away. But you know what? That's what a man does. He keeps stepping up to plate, like Casey at the bat. You remember that one, Jake?
Casey at the bat. That's a book, right?
I feel like it's more of a fable. It might actually be a book, but it's about a guy who strikes out a lot, or he's a really good hitter, but he keeps striking out, and then all of Mudville is sad. I think is how that.
So yeah, and Chris Davis before Chris Davis.
Yeah, that's basically it. He's the opposite of the natural. Another baseball reference that he was not top of mind for you. Let's keep it going, Jake, and let's talk about the actual baseball players. Actually, first, guys, please hit the like button. We are in the dying days of baseball season. We are trying to keep the energy up as best we can, but a little more support in the form of likes certainly helps, like tipping your bartender, just good manners. So please hit that. And of course, also go check out all of our packages at awesemo.com/join. For NFL season in particular, they're trying really hard to make it easy for you to jump in without much actual data need. If you want to get the packages up just $3.95 a week, they're all there for you at awesemo.com/join. See everything in grade form. So it's a lot easier to build lineups and check it out. So let's go do that right now at awesemo.com/join. All right, Jake, let's talk Houston, because we're already talking about them. Really good spot going against Yusei Kikuchi. Not a ton of ownership because they're priced weirdly, and they are also in a park that's not a fantastic one for hitting, but also not really a bad one. How are you feeling about Houston today? Because I did force some exposure there, even though they didn't kind of naturally land there a lot for me.
Yeah, I really, really, really like Houston. And I think everyone likes Houston. The question is, how do you get to them with their restrictive pricing, assuming it's Springer and Altuve and Bregman and Alvarez and all these expensive guys. I'm finding a way to do that. They look really undervalued on the top stack tool. So I'm kind of licking my chops with Houston here. I really, really love them on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. You're probably not going to be able to afford deGrom. I'm looking at my Fantasy Draft lineups right now. Actually, yeah, you can. deGrom, Montgomery, maybe not the best parts of the Houston stack. You see Reddick and Chirinos in there. But it can be done, even with the six-man stack. That's probably my favorite team tonight in terms of the team I'm going to be most over the field on.
And you also mentioned we talked about Josh Reddick and Robinson Chirinos like they're Chris Owings, and they are certainly not. These guys have really big power. I mean, Chirinos has a 199 ISO against lefties. Reddick has a 215, even though he is a lefty, and Kikuchi gives it up to both sides of the plate as well. So yeah, and both guys over a 125 WRC plus. So like I wouldn't be disappointed either if you got the bottom end, the cheaper parts of that Houston stack, even though we all want our Bregmans and our Jordans and George Springer has been raking on the year. The cheap guys still can get you there too, and can certainly get to Kikuchi, who's pretty much garbage. Really not a great Japanese import, you say Kikuchi.
Yeah, he's so he had one really good game early in the season. I think it might have been against the Twins. Like he had like a 10 strikeout game, and I was like, man, this guy's sick. And that was kind of before we even knew the Twins were really good. And yeah, I guess he's not indeed sick. So
no, he might be sick in terms of being infirmed, but no, he's not quite Yu Darvish. He's not Shohei Ohtani, even though we didn't see him pitch. Though I'm excited to see that he's going to be pitching next year, and they have like a plan already for him. I'm glad to have Shohei Ohtani as a dual position guy back in my life.
Yeah, he was really fun to watch pitch the few times we got to see him last year. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Ryan Stubbs in the YouTube, I think it was Ryan Stubbs. I lost the chat, but yeah, Ryan Stubbs asking, what does the dong picker win? I'm going to say hopefully nothing, because Jake and I won last year and we got jack shit. So I hope EMAC just wins a hearty congratulations and disdainful looks and commentary from us would be my hope.
Yeah. I don't know. We should have had a prize, right? Like
not now.
Well, not now, obviously, for your sake, but we should think about it. Next year, you guys should remind us when we kick this off next season in about 6 months. You guys should tell us what should be our prize. It probably shouldn't just be money. It should be something show related or something like that. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't even know. It should be that everybody has to do an ad read for that person for a week. About how great they are.
oh, an actual ad read for the person.
Yeah, like us talking about EMAC and be like, Eric McPherson. We were sponsored by Eric McPherson here on Live Before Lock. One of truly a great DFS player and a greater human being. So shout out to Eric McPherson for putting Live Before Lock on for us.
Just gets to be the sponsor of the show. Yeah,
that would be amusing if nothing else.
Yeah, we could add that in.
Actually, I would give that one up this year. Honestly, I gave it away for free just now. That's always been my issue. Me and the cow giving away the milk for free. San Francisco lineup out. Let me see if this ruins anything.
So is the Oakland lineup, and it's is this right? No Chris Davis.
Oh, I uploaded Oakland, but didn't even notice that. Oh, let me just double check.
Yeah, it is. I've got 6 out of 30. I'm gonna have to recrunch. That's really annoying. Let's see. Have we gotten new projections? We got new ownership just now, actually.
Oh.
So let's see if anything's changed. I'll just run another crunch. We've got time. I'm only making 30 lineups, so.
Yeah, we got more than enough time here based on what you normally do. That's cake for you.
That's right.
Let's see. Let me get the ownership in here so we don't misquote anything while we're talking hitters. But guys, again, hit that like button, please, because we got everything's going down to the wire here. Chris Owings, oh my God. Don't play this much. Chris Owings would be one of my takeaways. As the public is going to. Let's talk about Boston here. I guess it's a logical transition. Chris Owings is going to be almost his own as Jacob deGrom today on DraftKings in particular, where he is the minimum price, though he is equally cheap elsewhere. Is he going to be that owned elsewhere?
Chris Owings?
Yeah. Not quite.
Let's see.
Do we not have Yahoo ownership on this page?
We might not. I'm not sure.
I'm not seeing Yahoo ownership pop up, so that's weird. So anybody can hear me. Yahoo ownership not displaying currently.
Owings, yeah. Let's see. Is he popular on FanDuel too?
Oh, Brian Dozier is the Chris Owings of FanDuel.
Yeah, and Dozier is such a better hitter too. So like that one actually makes sense. But
yeah, big team total too.
Yeah, Owings is an interesting one. I mean, what are you doing with Owings in like your Red Sox stacks?
So not as much of him. I also find Colby Allard's numbers weird. So let me tell you why, because I have to like pull them up real fast just to make sure that I'm articulating everything. So he's been bad in terms of giving up walks and hits, a 2.2 whip to lefties, a 1.6 whip to righties. Strikeouts not really there, a 12.5% K rate, a 15.6% K rate versus righties. And these are all, he's faced 239 batters over the last 2 seasons. So these were the numbers I'm pulling from. But only giving up a 132 ISO. And he's also only given up a 2% barrel ball rate. I know it's 95 degrees in Texas, but I feel like I haven't seen him get really blown up this year in terms of giving up big power production. I don't get the reason why, but I have less Boston overall because of that. I also think it's a fantastic line for Boston. So how are you feeling about them? Because I'm going to assume you have a bunch, and they are going to be very highly owned today, it looks like.
Yeah, they're just a little bit too highly owned for me. I'm refreshing the top stack tool as I say this. So let's see where they're at right now because we just got ownership updated. I mean, they're pretty fairly owned on DraftKings right now. So they've kind of towed the line between being over-owned and under-owned. Good value grade. Not the best value grade, though, on the slate for DraftKings. Not even top 2. But they're good. I think there's good individual plays. Owings would be a guy I would try to avoid if I'm hand building. Like, I know he makes it work, but he's batting 9th. I don't know if there's an increased pinch hit risk because of the platoon here. He's not a good hitter. He's just cheap. And, like, you're going to like the amount of Boston that you get if you leave him in. But I think he's just going to be way too highly owned on DraftKings and probably on Fantasy Draft as well.
Yeah, not a good hitter is Owings. 0.095 ISO versus lefties. Certainly can. Yeah, anything can happen. It's MLB DFS. We've had worse hitters, I think, as chalk overall on the year though. Just a 0.82 ISO on the year, 1.1% on run rate, a 5 WRC plus. Not a good hitter is Chris Owings. So Adam mentioned it on the deeper dive. Like if you are doing Boston stacks, it's probably worth just making sure if you have a little bit less Chris Owings in those because if he goes down, which he may very well, he'll probably be taking a lot of Boston stacks with him.
Yeah, like if you love Boston tonight and you're going really heavy on Boston, you might be like overweight on Chris Owings on DraftKings possibly, but Owings should be one of, if not the lowest owned Red Sox hitter if you're playing 150 in your crunch, I think. So figure out a way to do that. You don't want to be like, you don't just want to X out a guy of a stack you're on, but if you do play him, you need to be different like elsewhere because he's not a good hitter, but even if he performs well, you're still competing with a lot of the Red Sox stacks.
Yeah, so there's kind of a double-edged sword there with playing Chris Owings tonight, but I think you outlined that pretty well, Jake. And same thing for Brian Dozier. Actually, is now picking up a good amount of ownership on DraftKings too. He's in the leadoff spot, which certainly helps. And he's gonna have to pull a bit of a load here with no Anthony Rendon, no Trey Turner in that lineup. Did you see Brian Dozier's video of him in the locker room, by the way, where he apparently like knows Spanish music really well and was like vibing along with it?
Dozier does?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if he learned, like, honestly, like, I wonder if he learned that playing with the Twins. They've got a ton of Hispanic guys in their team. So maybe they, like, played in the locker room. Or, well, how does he know all the Hispanic music? Does he just like it?
So it was on one of my friends works for this company, so that's why I do follow them. They're also just a good baseball handle. But MLB Cut 4 had the video. Actually, I'll post it in the YouTube chat because it is a fun one on Instagram where it's just him dancing and going wild. Drop it in the YouTube
good?
Chat.
Is he any
Yeah,
good?
he's got like some decent moves, and he was singing like he knew every word to the song in Spanish. It was very impressive. I did not expect that out of Brian Dozier out of all these guys.
That would not be a guy I would expect that out of. But now that you're saying that, we might have to watch that at some point.
Yeah, go follow that handle. If you're not following that and you do watch these MLB shows and you play all these slates, it is a fun little handle to see some things. They also had Max Scherzer because of his weird color eye things. They had like goggles for him. There were 2 different color eyes. The Nationals had a fun celebration yesterday, it seemed, which kind of makes me worried about them today, to be honest. They were really swinging beers around and looked hammered. But
their regulars some of their regulars are in. So
yeah, some of them. The rest of them are like a little. Anthony Rendon got a little too wild. A little too much of the dark liquor yesterday, and now he's got to sit out today. He and Trey Turner both were pounding cigars and just having a tough time hacking up a lung. Let's talk about Washington because they're owned a bit, and as we mentioned, Brian Dozier in particular going to be chalky. It looks like everywhere now. Going against Drew Smyly, a guy who I think we earlier in the season may have talked ourselves collectively, not us specifically on the show, into thinking that he is a good pitcher. He is still not a good pitcher, giving up overall a 287 ISO, getting hit pretty hard, giving up a 10% barrel ball rate on the year. And it's a big team total here for Washington. So, Jake, how are you feeling about the Nats?
I don't love them here. Like, they're not a top 5 stack for me. And being with limited lineups, like Howie Kendrick, I think it makes for a really fun one-off dual position eligibility on DK. You obviously have to like Dozier, but everyone's on that play. He's going to be the best value on the slate for a lot of people, especially on FanDuel. We pointed out the ownership there. I just don't really love the stack in total. There's pieces I like against Smiley. He's a great guy to target home runs against, of course. But there's just other teams I like a little bit better than the Nationals as a full stack here.
EMAG pointing out in the premium Slack, which of course you do get with that Osmo Plus membership, Juan Soto not 21, so the rest is the hangover lineup.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's how it goes.
I'm sure Juan Soto didn't have a sip to drink yesterday.
When you are a young athlete, the thing you're known for is not drinking, not going to the club, just going home, playing some Fortnite, having a day.
Such a good dad joke there by EMAC, actually. I like that one actually.
But yeah, I think the Nationals, it's a big implied total here going against Smiley, but it does feel, I don't really know what this team is playing for now. They also have the emotional catharsis of eliminating Bryce Harper last night. This is all narrative. This is not data. Data looks great. Washington's a great hitting team, even though they're a little bit worse with no Trey Turner. I know Rendon in there. You still got Howie Kendrick in there, who's been a beast. I still have Dozier, who's pretty competent and cheap. I get the reasons to go there, but it's not the spot for me tonight either.
Yeah. I uploaded the wrong ownership. So let me fix this. What's the next team we want to talk about while I re-upload this?
Well, while you break everything, let's talk about Toronto because they are looking to be the chalk stack of the day. The lineup, I guess, to me, has gotten a little bit less appealing. Reese McGuire is a dude who just every time I play him has a monster day. And that's, certainly clouding me. But he's at 100 at bats versus a righty. For some reason, he's not in this lineup today, which drives me nuts because it'd be a killer spot for him. But still a strong hitting Toronto lineup here. Bunch of guys with good power. 5 guys in the lineup over a 205 ISO. Vlad Guerrero also kind of lagging behind with a 177, but obviously we know the power that he has. Toronto, to me, looks good. I didn't quite get there as much as I thought I would earlier in the day, but they still are going to be very chalky, particularly Billy McKinney in that leadoff spot as a value play, similar to Brian Dozier. How are you feeling about Toronto going against Inoue and a bad Baltimore bullpen, though it looks like Toronto's roof is also going to be open?
Seemingly impossible to avoid if you're multi-entering these Toronto bats, just because a lot of them are such good value. This happens like every slate. It seems like when Toronto's in a good spot, they're all just way too cheap, so they always get owned. They're not necessarily a great team by any means. They've got a couple good hitters that I don't mind playing, but everyone's getting some ownership here. So as a full stack on a 12-game slate, this would be one I'm trying to get away from. They're going to project really well, but that's why you're getting like deGrom and Bieber in these lineups, and that's great. But it's just really tough to be different if you're full stacking Toronto here, I think.
Yeah, and you're getting guys too like Breivik Valera in the 2-hole, who's certainly a nice value play, but a 41 WRC plus versus righties and not any power, a .039 ISO, which is one of the worst numbers on the slate. So he's got no power. I think mini stacking like Jake mentioned, Biggio, Guerrero, if you want to go McKinney, Tellez, Teoscar, also a decent power guy. I'm all right with that, but the full stack to me, I agree. It's going to be owned, and it doesn't look like it should be as owned as it's going to be. I like when they have Bo Bichette in there and they have McGuire. That's like a much feistier team.
Why isn't Bichette playing? Did I miss something last night?
He's got a concussion, I think.
Oh, really? Dang.
Yeah.
That's too bad. So they'll probably shut him down for the rest of the season then, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's what I saw today. But McGuire, I have no clue. McGuire, maybe he just crashed the Nationals party, flew over to. He had a wild. He was making Juan Soto do shots. He couldn't go. Let's see. Ownership wise, I'm trying to see who else we need to talk about. Philly, their ownership has come down a bit. I guess we should talk about them as the other side of the Nationals game equation. Also value priced guys like Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, Brad Miller, who had a double dong day yesterday, was pretty much nobody on him. Those guys look like they'll be owned a bit. Are you landing on any Philly here going against Anibal Sanchez, a guy who, frankly, I don't want to stack against, but maybe you do?
No, I don't really like stacking against Anibal all that much. Maybe a few years ago, but he's done a decent job just like limiting damage against him. Under 1.2 home runs per 9. His whip is pretty good, 1.3 for the season. I mean, these are pretty quality numbers, even though his xFIP is above 5 per usual. So I don't really know how Anibal does it, but he seems to kind of get the job done. And you've got a pretty watered down Philadelphia lineup. It would be really only Bryce and Rhys Hoskins that I would like to target against him, just because they're good hitters.
Brad Miller's got power. I wouldn't sell Brad Miller short. 227 ISO versus righties going back to last year. That's not a bad number.
That's fair.
And he had a double dong yesterday, Jake. That means he's going to do it every day moving forward. That's how that goes.
I mean, you're taking Jose Ramirez. He had a double dong yesterday.
It's true. He wasted all that good juju coming off the injured list. Now I'm going to get an 0 for 4 day or an 0 for 2 day where he gets subbed out because they blow him out anyway.
Could be. You never know.
Can't wait for the results of that one. Let's see. Ownership wise, again, ownership's fairly spread out here as well. Looks like Cleveland's one that we should hit on then because we did talk about Jose Ramirez just now. Going against Ross Detweiler has been a fantastic spot for anybody who gets it. Detweiler giving up a lot of power, 270 ISO over the last 2 seasons, most of which is just this season. 1.7 whip, 5.6 xFIP on the year, 11% barrel ball rate, very bad numbers across the board. And the Indians are really a quality hitting team at this point. They've really gotten better. Got guys like Luplow, Franmil Reyes in there. Who is actually going to be pretty well owned. Franmil Reyes is, as well as Yasiel Puig and Francisco Lindor. I really like all these guys here, and I actually got a lot of Cleveland today. How are you feeling about them, Jake?
Yeah, they're easily in the top tier for me today against Detweiler. You mentioned basically everyone that I want to play 1 through 7, and then you get a catcher that's under 4K that I'm fine playing. Freeman's whatever, but really, really rock solid lineup for a team that is on the road, so they're going to have the 9 at-bats, like Alex always mentions, that I think gets overlooked sometimes. But also a team that's fighting for a playoff spot, too, so you're not worried that much about the pinch hit risk. And the guys on the deeper dive were talking about how, maybe when they're up 10-0, but if they're up 10-0, like, your stack probably already did what it's supposed to do. So, I don't know. I'm really not worried about the guys getting pulled early here for Cleveland, so absolutely love them. They're going to be a top 5 option for me easily.
Yeah, I'm fully there too. They also have a better chance of being a top stack relative to their ownership, one of the better numbers for them on the slate currently. I think they are in a really strong spot, and they're priced up. It's weird. Like, I was thinking back to it because I was on my old laptop, and the last 4 corners video I had done was when Cleveland was still terrible, and we were like, why does Cleveland suck so bad? Now they're actually kind of good. They're going into the playoffs with a lot of momentum right now, and the hitting. They really rounded out this lineup now, especially if Jose Ramirez is going to go back to old Jose Ramirez. It's a filthy team and one that I'm willing to pay a premium for because they are expensive on DK.
Yeah, I think I was telling Josh yesterday, like, this is a really scary team if they do get in, because you have Bieber, Clevenger. I don't like Kluber possibly coming back too. Who knows? But you've got at least 2 really awesome pitchers that strike out a ton of guys, which is massive in the playoffs. Just decrease your randomness a little bit, and a deep lineup with a few switch hitters in there too. So, like, they're always in favorable spots, it seems like. So Cleveland, kind of a sleeper team, I think, if they do get in for me.
This whole playoff, I have a lot of Yankees friends, obviously being from New York and growing up the Bronx, and like I've seen people talking about them like they're a shoe-in. Like, it's going to be a real tough road for them if they're getting Minnesota in round 1 and they have to get Houston or Cleveland or Tampa Bay in round 2. Like, that's not an easy path to the World Series.
And it's not like the Yankees have great pitching either. Like, great starters. They do have a good bullpen and all of that, but I don't know. I mean, the Twins don't have good pitching either, so I think they would beat the Twins, but like the other team they face, whether it's going to be Cleveland or who was the other team you mentioned?
Tampa Bay and Cleveland are the wild card, and then Houston would be the one waiting for the wild card.
So, like, I mean, I would not be polishing off your Yankees 2019 rings just yet.
No, and then that's it. Even ignoring who's coming out of the NL, but the Yankees shouldn't be talking playoffs right now. But we'll close the loop on this real fast. Would you trust James Paxton if you're a Yankees fan going against that Twins lineup who's got so much power and Paxton just gets hit hard? He gets strikeouts, but he gets hit hard. Or Happ out there who's like the long reliever today. Like, I would not trust the Yankees pitching staff, and I feel like they're gonna get screwed over or just get screwed out of like a spot here somehow, and they'll end up overpaying for Garrett Cole. I think seems like the move that would be the most Yankee move.
Is there a price you can pay to overpay for Cole based on what he's done? Like, this guy's been insane. He's got like a 40% K rate for the season. I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous how good he's been.
Yeah, it's crazy, but we'll see what happens. The playoffs should be interesting, and we will have a ton of playoff content here for Osmo as well. A lot of this, obviously all the ownership projections and player projections that we have, but I believe we're doing some more video and stuff around it too. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel because that'll all be coming up. Who else are you getting stack wise, Jake? Because I feel like we touched on the core teams, pretty much everybody with a decent run total. Who are you getting? That's a little weird.
Let's see. I am getting to some Nats bats more than I expected. No one really weird. We haven't talked about the Cubs yet. Just that,
Yeah.
like, they have a good total and stuff, and I'm not really a guy to stack teams with a 4 flat total or anything. So this isn't coming out of nowhere, but 5.7 implied total on some sites. Looks like Alex has them at 6.2. That's one of the better numbers on the slate, and Zobrist is super cheap. Not as cheap as or not in as good of a spot, maybe as like Dozier or someone like that. But Cubs lineup is deep. It's been disappointing all season, but normal guys in the lineup for the most part here, outside of Chris Bryant. Agrizal is just going to let them put a ton of balls in play, and that's appealing in itself. Plus, you've got just good hitters sprinkled throughout this Cubs lineup. I think Agrizal is terrible.
He is not good. A 12% K rate for Agrizal in the year. Worse versus righties with a 1.7 whip and a 6.7 xFIP, along with a 260 ISO allowed. He's been better versus lefties, so probably a bit lucky versus lefties because he has a 227 batting average and a 1.1 whip, which does not scream Dario Agrizal to me. But yeah, I got some Cubs too. I think Castellanos is in a nice spot. He's one that I got a good amount as a one-off. The lefties too, I really don't have an issue with. So yeah, I have a little bit of Cubs, not as much as those other teams we've talked about, but going against Agrizal, this could be maybe their not their season finale, obviously, but this is the last game where they're mathematically, I think, able to make a playoff spot. They're not going to, but yeah, they could be. This could be their big show before they close out the year and guys start sitting.
Yeah, the Cubs are cooked. I mean, just got swept at home 4 games by the team they needed to take like 3 against in the Cardinals last weekend. So that pretty much put the nail in the coffin. Too bad for a team this talented and my favorite team. So stings even a little bit more.
Even though they're not named for you, they're not the Chicago Jakes. The Minnesota Jakes are going to be really hurt about that.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be.
Our boy Pedrito PR asking in the premium Slack, do you like Texas on FanDuel? I guess let's talk about them about FanDuel specifically, Jake, but also I guess in general terms, do you like Texas at all?
Against Porcello, they're just not a team that I'm getting to all that much. Higher total than I thought they had. 5.5 runs. Yeah. I mean, good hitting weather in Texas, of course, because it almost always is. But I'm not getting to Texas. Just left out of the bunch for me for a 12-game slate. What about you?
I also didn't get Texas, and I agree. Looking at it now, I didn't realize they had 5.6 implied runs on what I'm seeing too. And Porcello has been bad on the year, getting hit pretty hard, only an 18% K rate, 10% barrel ball rate, both not good, both down from where he was last year. So I get the logic to it. It's not one I personally landed on. And I think Texas, I've kind of slept on Texas more often than not as the year's gone on because I just don't love their hitters and I don't love how they stack up often. But, Calhoun's had good power. Shin-Soo Choo can certainly do some damage to Porcello. It's not a bad lineup going against them. So that could be a sharp play, just not one that I got on. And not going to be the highest owned either.
Yeah. So if anybody's watching me on screen, you're probably doing your own lineups and stuff. But if anybody's watching, you're seeing the absurd amount of Tim Melville that I have right now. 66% essentially of Melville here. That's not a good feeling. But that's what the numbers are telling me to do tonight, to get in Houston and the Nats and the good parts of the Red Sox and teams like that. So, pretty brutal here, being on the Melville train.
Speaking of this, I guess this topic would be relevant. Our guy Makad asked, he hasn't been here for a few weeks. I think he's maybe on his lapsed membership, but getting back in there, waiting for Slack to be activated. He asked for the Paul Blackburn of the night, of course, the historical award that goes to the most incompetent pitcher who is cheap enough that he could possibly end up in a tournament-winning lineup. Jake, would that be Tim Melville for you?
Oh, yeah, it has to be Melville. I'm a sellout if it's not. So Melville, I would say my runner-up, and I don't even think this guy's even that bad for real-life MLB, but Montgomery, I suppose.
Yeah, Montgomery's my pick as well. He keeps the ball down enough where I think that could be fine against, a weaker Atlanta lineup, though perhaps not as weak as people may think without Acuna and without Freeman in there. Still have some hitters with pop, but Not a great home run hitting park. Montgomery can keep it down, have one good showing to close out the year for himself or whatever. If he's got one, it's probably his last start. So finish big, Mike Montgomery, because you are my Paul Blackburn of the night.
Yeah. Do we have any other stacks you want to talk about? Otherwise, I've got exposures on the screen I can run through.
Let's real fast John Lester, because we didn't hit him on the pitchers, and people are asking about him. Seems like an okay strikeout matchup, and the bottom of the Pittsburgh lineup is getting a bit worse with some of the guys they have in there. I don't hate the idea, but I didn't land there much. How about you with John Lester?
Earlier today, I kind of just wrote him off, but once you saw this lineup for Pittsburgh and him being a -200 favorite, it's hard not to at least consider him. You guys see on the screen, I got to 10% of Lester, 3 lineups out of 30. It's whatever. He wouldn't be a priority play by any means, but this is a guy we know can go pretty deep into games, and it's just a bad Pittsburgh lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the bottom of the order here with Jake Elmore, Steven Barron, and Dario Agrazal, these guys are really not good hitters, though. Elmore hasn't struck out a lot, so that's also something to keep in mind. Only a 7% strikeout rate out of the 14 at-bats that he's had versus a lefty. Pittsburgh as a whole doesn't strike out enough where I would want to land on Lester, but Barron and Agrazal and Elmore could give up some easy ones, and Kevin Newman's certainly not going to give up any. A 9% K rate for him, but I could see the logic in going to Lester at his price point. But I'd rather go a little bit cheaper or a little more expensive, I think, overall.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Melville for all the money, Ronnie Haywood says. You are not alone on your Melville Island.
Good God. It's not going to be fun. Not what I expected, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, what are your final breakdown of everything?
Let's see here. 63% Melville. Yikes. 57% deGrom. That's good. We're getting there. 30% Montgomery, I think, is a number I'm comfortable with. More Bieber than I thought. 17%. I crunched out 50 lineups. I eliminated the top 10 in ownership, and then eliminated the bottom 10 in projection after that to get to 30. So a bunch of my Samardzija got squeezed out, which I'm a little bit disappointed to see. Maybe I'll do some late swap or something. Got to 10% of Lester stacks. Looks like I got a pretty good spread of things. 5 Atlanta, 4 Houston, 4 Dodgers, a team we didn't really talk about against Lamet. I guess just against a volatile pitcher with a bunch of lefty power, even though Lamet's been better versus lefties. Dodgers are just a team I like when they're low owned. Mentioned the Cubs, Cleveland, the Nats. That's kind of my top 5 or 6 stacks, but I'd like to see Houston near the top tonight.
Oh, also apparently Melvin Gordon reporting to camp tomorrow.
No.
So that's gonna ruin. Well, he probably won't play versus Miami, but that certainly changes that equation a bit. So yeah, if Melvin Gordon is on your waivers, pick him up right now because that just came out about 10 minutes ago, officially. But yeah, all right, so that's it, guys. Hit that like button before you go. Again, we are in the last few days of MLB's regular season, so enjoy all these streams. Tomorrow it's going to be Jake. It's you and Josh tomorrow, right?
It is breaking down that 5-gamer.
Oh boy. Tune in for the Josh and Jake 5-game live before lock. I will have a showdown breakdown video coming out tomorrow, which have you seen the views these are getting, Jake?
Good.
It's like 7K views of video.
Dude, one of my buddies who I actually live with, he was telling me how good of a video, he was telling me how good the showdown video was or whatever on Monday. And I was like, oh, is that Spag? He's like, yeah.
There we go.
Without me even saying anything. So he really likes what you're doing.
Oh, thanks to your buddy. Yeah, go check those out. They're fast. They're under 5 minutes, but I get everything I can in there. Talking my usual fast pace, but it's edited, so my lineup's been fucking spot on. Like I've been the first 2 ones I've nailed, and I've had really good showdown results. So I'm gonna keep doing them for myself, if not for the viewers. But go check that out tomorrow. Watch Josh and Jake tomorrow. Check out our showdown live before lock. Deeper dive as well will be on. We got a lot of stuff going on this week. And I'll be on the deeper dive on Friday with Adam, so that'll be fun. I get to close out my season with a little Adam in my life, which makes me happy. But subscribe, hit that notification bell because we've got a ton of stuff coming up. Of course, thanks again to Fantasy Draft. And if you're not playing this weekend, this isn't even me doing the ad read. Just play there because right now there's been a lot of overlay and a lot of people I saw winning money using just the stuff that we talked about on our shows. So go check that out at fantasydraft.com right now. Use that promo code AWESEMO. Play in the Hooter main event, which is going to be $750,000 of guaranteed money there, rake free. And of course, all the entry fees are going to the winners, which is what you want out of your DFS site. So go to fantasydraft.com right now. Use that promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, for your free 7-day trial. And Jake, anything else you want to hit on?
Good luck tonight, guys. Enjoy the last few days of baseball. You won't have the Chris and Jake show, but we'll be back next season, I'm sure. Yeah,
well, we'll have to be normal human beings and talk on our own. Well, you do some like round tables or something. We'll do those. Got to do some round tables, just get some time together. But we'll do that. We'll see you guys again soon. Appreciate you all season long. It's been great having you guys, and keep watching. But we'll be back. Good luck.